Are you concerned that your kiddo's not talking? Well, today we're going to be talking about choices in communication, kind of choices and options going beyond or in addition to verbal language. So don't go away. All right, guys, welcome back to Lingaroo, where language comes to life. It's great to have you joining with us today. I'm excited about today's topic. You know, as a speech pathologist, so much of what I do, probably 99% of it, sometimes it feels like that, is trying to get kids talking. Right? But today we're going to be talking about some other options, other choices in communication, kind of beyond or in addition to or in lieu of spoken language. Yes, verbal output is good, but there are so many other ways to communicate. And sometimes I think we kind of lose sight of that and we kind of feel this pressure to get our kids talking, and we kind of measure where they're at by how many words they're producing or whether or not they are producing spoken language. But I kind of want to argue today that may not be the end-all be-all for every single child, and that if your child isn't headed in that way, isn't headed towards verbal output or spoken language, that's okay, and that there are options to consider and options to think about in this process. And as you're picking a speech therapist, or any type of therapist for that matter, to really keep that in mind and to make sure that the therapist is choosing a communication system that's the best thing for your child, and not just kind of what they want or what they think you want or what they were trained on, right? They went to a conference in it, so by golly, that's what we're going to do. No, we need to think about the individual child. Think about what's best for this kiddo and how best can we get them communicating, not just talking, right? So we're going to be talking about that today. There are kind of two things that we think about as we think about either alternatives to communication or augmenting or helping or adding to our child's communication. There's kind of this low tech, we call it, just the low technologically advanced, like there's not a whole lot of technology, if any, involved. So those are kind of in the low tech category. And then we have the high tech. We have the ones that are more driven by technology, and we'll be talking about those as well. Over here in the low tech, we have a lot of options as we think about ways that your child can communicate. The first one would be sign language and gestures. Right? And even in sign language, we know that there's American Sign Language, which is an entire language system that has its own syntax and word order, right? And it's an entire language in and of itself. There's also signed English, or I had a book growing up called Signing Exact English, and it was an exact translation of our English language, including ing endings and past tense and all of those markers. And that's kind of the sign language that I learned. I was just kind of interested in it as a kiddo. So that sign language is absolutely a valid way that your child could learn to communicate. One thing I love about it is that it's typically always with your kiddo, right? He's always got his hands. She's always able to access those signs. It's not limited by having to carry a device or carry a book. And so that is one good thing about it. You know, they can always very quickly access those signs for help or more or whatever it is. And it's convenient a lot of times. But one thing that concerns me about it is that not everyone around you or everyone in the environments in which your child's going to find herself, not everyone knows those signs, right? So if they're at the mall, let's say, or if they're lost and they're trying to communicate help or more or what, that trying to find kiddos or other people who know those signs or understand those signs can be kind of limiting, right? So that's something to think about. Along those lines, if that's the means of communication that you're going to choose for your child, then everybody needs to learn it, right? Mom, dad, siblings, everybody needs to learn signs so that we're all on the same page. Think how frustrating it would be if you spoke Spanish or German or English, and you're in a room where no one else speaks that language, no one understands you, and no one's speaking back to you in that language. So if you're using those signs, to make sure that everyone is learning those signs along with your child, to help create an environment where they're able to communicate more freely. In that category of sign language is also just simple gestures, right? Pointing, this, like, I want this, or they're pointing to something that they want. They're communicating to you. So we've got to be watching for that it's not just the spoken language, right? A lot of times we can read their gestures and kind of figure out what they want, or they're protesting. They don't like it, right? And they didn't tell you no, they didn't tell you to stop, but they are very clearly communicating that whatever's being done, that they would want it to stop. The next idea, or the next area of low-tech communication, would be picture exchange or object exchange, right? If I come and I want an apple and I don't know the sign for apple, or I can't tell you apple, maybe I could bring you a picture of apple to show you I want apple. Or maybe in the early days, or if you have a younger kiddo, maybe they just show you the apple and they exchange the actual object, right? And they give you the actual thing or a replica of it. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about that. As we're thinking about picture exchange, as we're thinking about object exchange, one of the biggest things we have to think about is what's called visual representation, right? Sometimes the symbols that we use can be kind of hard to understand, or they might be kind of obscure, right? They might be kind of confusing to young kiddos. And so we have to really think about, do they understand these symbols? Do they understand that this symbol is telling us to put something in, right? Or does it look like a square and a dot, and they're missing that connection, right? The representation of that visual isn't clear enough. So visual representation is really important. If your kiddo's struggling, if you're trying some of this picture exchange and they're struggling with the symbols, maybe it's because they need to go to like real digital photos of the real object and start with that because it's a better representation. It makes more sense to them at the level that they're at. So think about that in this idea of picture exchange. Think about that idea of visual representation. Another thing you're going to want to think about, again, kind of what we talked about with the sign language, that if you're going to do picture exchange, we have to make it available to your kiddo in every environment, right? If their communication or if their pictures are in the kitchen and you guys leave and go to the living room, they don't have a way to communicate, right? If they don't have pictures available to them in the living room, they've just lost their way to communicate. They've lost their voice. Right? If you're in the car and you didn't bring any pictures with you in the car, how is your child going to communicate with you while you're in the car? Right? So again, this idea of bringing these communication, whichever modality, whichever way we think about communicating with our kiddo, we've got to think about ways and get creative about ways to make it available to them across all environments. I'll tell you one example. I in my clinic a while back, I had a mom that the child was using picture exchange, and she actually acquired one of those for her visor in her car back in the day when people still used CDs and DVDs. She had a CD case that fit on the visor. You might remember these, or you may have seen one. And instead of using it as a CD case, she put Velcro and pictures on this visor, so that as she's driving, she had the ability to pull down and hand a picture, or if he was trying to communicate something to her, she could pull down the visor and give him options, right? Safely, of course, while you're driving, but this was a way that she was able to take this communication system into the environment of the car. So think about that. How are you doing this across all environments and making sure that these pictures are available to your kiddo here, there, and everywhere. Okay, just a couple more quick low-tech ways to communicate. We have communication boards. Sometimes it's just a flat board of pictures that the child can point to and kind of show you words or phrases or sentences, put sentences together by pointing to the pictures. And then also think about visual schedules. Sometimes for our kiddos, transitions are really hard, right? So if you show them we're going to do this first and then this, or we're going to do this, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to go outside, and you have pictures to represent the schedule and those transitions, sometimes that's a good way, a good low-tech way to help enhance receptive communication and their understanding of what's going to happen next. So think about those as well. So that's kind of the low-tech way of thinking, some of the low-tech options when we think about communication. And I want to spend just a few minutes talking about high-tech or ideas that, ways that we can communicate using technology. There's a whole field of speech therapy, speech pathology. It's AAC, right? It's augmentative or helping or adding to, it's augmenting, augmentative and alternative communication. So again, thinking of ways to either add to and supplement spoken language, or maybe just providing an alternate option if that spoken language hasn't developed yet. There are a lot of amazing technological advances that have happened in the last, 10, 15 years. Back in the day, we had, these big devices, and just like our phones, right? They keep getting smaller and smaller and more compact and can do much more amazing things. And that's happened in this realm too. We now have iPad apps that you can download on an iPad, and they're actually speech generating devices, right? So the child can push the buttons and it will talk. It will say the sentence for the child, and they're amazing. We also have dedicated devices, right? So both with these applications and others as well, where it's a dedicated device that's only used for speech and language. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes I think that's a good idea, right? Sometimes I've seen kiddos that have a hard time, especially if the iPad is used for gaming or fun, right? Sometimes kiddos will resist using it for communication because when they're on the iPad, they want to access PBS Kids, or they want to go to their favorite app and play games. They don't want to use it for communication purposes. So sometimes it is good if you can acquire a dedicated device, or maybe a separate iPad, or a separate way to show that this is for communication purposes, and that's what we're going to use it for when we have this device on, or when we're using it in this way. There are also some great programs that are like type to talk or type to speech, right? Where as your child develops reading and writing abilities, where they can spell out the words. A lot of times they have word prediction, where they can start to type a word and it will give them options, and then they can recognize it and push the correct word that they're looking for. So again, the options are endless in this realm of high-tech augmentative communication, and I would really encourage you to find an SLP, a speech pathologist that's well-versed in this area. It's definitely an area of expertise, and not all speech pathologists have studied it intently. So do a quick search, a Google search, ask the questions. You're your child's best advocate. Do you know augmentative communication options? And engage in that conversation with your SLP and see kind of what their knowledge of it is, and if they have the ability to kind of help your child find some of these alternative communication options. Okay, lastly, just a few considerations that I want you guys to be thinking about. First of all, just your child's level, right? The age and stage, the cognitive abilities, right? His understanding of what's going on, his understanding of cause and effect, that, if I push this button, that means this, I get this, or I'm letting you know that I want to go here, or that I want that to stop, right? Kind of that cause and effect piece. Is your child there yet? Does he understand that? And that's a huge piece to consider, his or her level on all levels, right? That's important to think about as you're picking which option is going to be best for your kiddo. Another really important thing is to think about your family, right? The family size, the speed at which you guys are going, and think about what does the realistic load look like. right? I mentioned that the mom that had the Pinterest style visor thing that she had the time to create and cut those things out and laminate them, but sometimes that's not me, right? Maybe I'm not that mom that I don't have the time to do that, and that's a consideration, and it's an honest consideration, and there's no mom guilt, there's no shaming involved. That's a reality, right? If you guys are both going, and you've got kids in all these activities, you need to think about a way that you can create a system that's going to actually work, right? Not the one that seems the best or feels like it should be the best, right? What's actually the best for your family, and to be able to come from a place of honesty and acceptance and reality and move forward with that and make it the best that you can, and pick the best system for your child and for your family when reality hits, right? And along those lines, again, if you've chosen the pictures need to be there. If you've chosen a device, it needs to be charged up. It needs to be ready, right? And these become a daily part of our life, a daily thing that we do. Every night we plug it in. Every night we plug it in. When we go to bed, every night we plug it in, right? And it becomes this routine because, again, everybody's on board. Because lastly, the last consideration, again, is just making these things available here, there, and everywhere. So guys, if you have questions, put them down in the comment section below. I'd love to answer those either down below or in a future video. Reach out to me on our Facebook feed. If you're not, go over to Instagram and Twitter and follow us there because we're going to be uploading some more content and hopefully engaging with you as a community around these topics and others. If you haven't already, it's free. Click here to subscribe and then click that bell notification icon and they'll let you know every time we upload new content. And if you haven't already, you're going to want to click this video. This was a fun one we did about ways to stimulate language in your kiddo when you're playing with some Barbies. So guys, have a great week. We'll see you next time here at Lingaroo, where language comes to life.